Y'all know what it is. I'm a grown man. VLP, grown man move. Talk to him.
It's a remix. I'm a grown woman, so unique. I'm making grown woman moves.
I'm making grown man moves. I done moved out my mama house. I done moved out my mama house. Grown man moves. I done moved, make my mama proud. Hey, I make my mama proud. Grown man moves. I'm in Sunday morning service. Hallelujah, I'm in Sunday morning service. Grown man moves. Now all my haters nervous. Hey, now all my haters nervous. Shawty still up the block, still up the block. Shawty wave, I don't stop, no longer stop. I see what it do, bands make a dance. I'm too busy being a grown man.
Don't chase dudes, don't chase stacks. Don't chase views, don't chase likes. I love God with an H like that one song. That's why you see me with my heels and a hoodie on. Proverbs 31 be the one. Yes, she's blessed, she's wise, she's priceless. Jumped in, all faith, no safe net. Closed eyes, trust God, no regrets. Look, she's a Mrs. Mommy too. Put that work in, pay her dues.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to Grown Man and Grown Woman Moves Table Talk. I cannot say how excited I am to be on the repeat for this amazing collaboration. I honor VLP for his vision. I'll never forget being in the audience. Cassandra Williams had invited me to an event on domestic violence and abuse. I believe it was down in Lake Worth. And she had several different performers, all amazing in their own right. But I heard her perform the song. I mean, everybody in the church was on their feet moving around. And I mean, it was just a moment inside of God, a truly godly moment. But the lyrics, I was like, oh my God, this young man is a staple for the community, for the young people. I said, because if he was able to come up with a vision and a song like that, truly God gifted, but to let the young men know that you can make moves, godly moves, and it still be something to be respected and well received, I was just blown away. So much to the degree that this young man, after he performed, I thought he was leaving. And I actually grabbed all of my stuff and ran out after him. He was actually just going out for a bit, and he was gonna come back in, but I was like, it's God ordained. I have got to work with you. I've got to do something with you. We've got to sit down and talk. And we had that conversation, and it's just been amazing thereafter. So I first want to give VLP his props. His song, his vision. Super excited to hear the female version now being infused into it. We've talked about that for a while. And the little teaser that he's given us so far, I was like, oh my God. So really, really amazingly excited. And I want to say, venturing into this, we had to really be creative about a lot of the different things that we've been doing on the ground. But God shows up and he shows out no matter what. Especially when he's spearheading it and he's a part of it, it's just always gonna be exactly what the people need. So I can only say, buckle up, get ready for an amazing ride. It's almost like one of those rides when you're at an amusement park and you go up real slow on the incline, and by the time you hit that downward spiral, it's on from there. So now as we really engage this event and we get into the meat and potatoes per se, I am honored to introduce a person who means the world to me. He's like a son in a sense, not because of his age, but because of the way that we've connected and how he honors and reverences me. So respectful, so humble, but so talented and so gifted. I introduce to some and present to others none other than VLP.
Hey, I don't step to the plate, pay the lights too. As a matter of fact, boo, when the rent due, go harder, pray harder to afford it. Believe in God, no more rent, got a mortgage. Little boys run, things got hard. Grown man stay, we praise God.
Little girls run, things got hard. Grown women stay,
We praise God.
Hey, thank you. How y'all doing? Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Sabrina. I couldn't have said those words better myself. I couldn't have said it better if I had written it down and give it to you to say for me. I'm just joking. Those are some really heartfelt words, and I really appreciate it. And the love is definitely giving back. I'm looking forward to continually doing the work that we have been doing and the work we will continue to do under the House of Love Illionaires and for our communities and everything that God has for us. But I just want to appreciate everybody that's watching right now, everybody that tuned in, the panelists, everybody that shared this event. We couldn't do it in person like we wanted to, but we're gonna do some great things today. We're gonna have some wonderful discussions regardless of the circumstances. And I just want to thank everyone and let you guys know that I really appreciate you. For those that this may be your first time experiencing this event in the Grown Man Moves series, it was called Grown Man Moves based off a song of mine called Grown Man, which was a really heartfelt message in the song that I have, but it was something that was really, really nice on that, like Sabrina said. I want to make sure my music always has, the rhythm that people can receive and accept and enjoy, but also having a real message behind it, which is my testimony as a child coming up. So about that, we're gonna get into detail about that. We're gonna get into detail about who I am, and we're gonna get into detail who the panelists are, and then we're gonna just go right into this thing, right? So about myself, Grown Man Moves, Grown Women Moves, Table Talk 2020. That's what it is, right? So I am a Christian recording artist. I write Christian music. I write all kind of music. I'm a writer. I am a husband. I'm a father of 3. I am a photographer. I am a videographer. I'm a promoter. I have my hands in all types of different hats. And I just thank God for giving me the know-how and to teach me certain things that I've learned over the years to be able to continually be a man of God, to be an entrepreneur, to be a businessman, and to be a successful family man, and continually growing in all of those things. So what Grown Man Moves means to me, and what the song meant, is there are some things that men should always realize and understand as they get to a certain level in life. It doesn't really matter about the age. We're gonna always continue to grow, but there are certain things that we should always strive to get to. A couple of things like being a man, handling your own responsibilities, learning from your mistakes. If you're a father and you have children, take care of those children. It shouldn't be some type of extra thing. I don't think I should receive any type of extra, for taking care of my children, because that's what I'm supposed to do, and I've seen it, and we've all seen it in times where there's men where they don't have that type of mental to say, I need to take care of this child, and this is my responsibility, regardless of the situation with the mother. But this is not just about the men today, this is about the women too. And when I came up with that song, that's what that was about. When I was younger, my mother and father, there was a time where I remember when I was young and my father came to the house. And we spent some time that day at my house where I stayed. We didn't live together, it was just me and my mom. And he spent time that day, and it felt so good just being in the house with my mother and my father. I remember how that just felt. And then I remember when he left after spending that time. And it felt so bad because I was so joyful that day when he was there. And when he left, I was like, well, I can't have my daddy in the house. That's what was in my heart. And I said, when I grow up, this is young me talking to myself. When I grow up, I'm not gonna do that to my kids. I'm gonna make sure I be there with my kids. I'm gonna be there in the house with my kids, the mother and the daddy. That's in my young mind. I was about maybe like 6 years old, maybe 7. I don't know if there's even that old. But I remember that. And that's been in my heart since then. And I always have that desire to make sure when I have a child, when I have children, I wanna be raising those children with the mother, husband and wife. That's the American dream. That's the dream for me. And I thank God that right now that's the life that I'm living. Like I said, I'm married, been married 17 years, and I have 3 children, 15, 11, and 7. Ooh, yes, pray for me. So, as I made that song, Grown Man Moves, I done moved out my mama house. Yeah, at a certain time, I shouldn't be living with my mama. I shouldn't be living on my mama. I should be on my own. The Bible speaks of that a man shall leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife. That's the word of God. So that's what this was about. Now also, I've been through some things in my life as a young man. I've been through some things in my life when I was younger, and some of those things I want to cover later on in the midst of these questions that we're going to be answering and going over. But I knew that covering a lot of Sabrina's events under the House of Love Millionaires, there were a lot of things that I saw when there were the social events where women would come together and women would have speaking segments and giving their testimonies of things they've been through, whether it's been abused, sexually abused, all type of trauma that they've dealt with in their life, and they were opening up and speaking about it. And when they did that, you see the other people in attendance, which is mostly women, that would be able to open up and say, I've been through that too, and be able to talk about coping with it and dealing with it and getting better in life and going forward. And I said, you know what, men, we go through those things too. We go through those things too, but a lot of times we've been taught in society, or whatever the case may be, that we don't really talk about these things. We don't open up with our feelings. That's not really the things that we do. So if we don't open up about them and we have some things we dealt with in our life, whether past or present, and we don't talk about it in general, and we don't deal with it in general, I saw when we dealing with our females, and we do go through these issues because we haven't dealt with certain things. So certain times we shut down or we have issues and something's bothering us and we don't even know why. And when our women come to us and say, baby, what's wrong? We can't even say what's wrong. So then there's a disconnect because women, they want to nurture us, they want to help us, they want to be there for us, but they don't know how if they don't know what's wrong. So I said, you know what? This is what we need to do as men, get together, open up, talk about the things we've been through. Let's talk about it. Let's be real about it. And then we can be able to get past it. Once we start speaking about it, we can be able to open up. And then we can bridge that gap between our men and women. So that was the first 2 years where we did that. And now this time we're gonna bring the women together because we wanna make sure that everybody's to the table and everybody's conversating, everybody's opening up and everybody's getting better so that we can have a one unity amongst us. And that's what this whole thing is about. And that's what I'm about. So we're gonna go forward today. I want you to sit back and enjoy. We're gonna have 2 sessions because this one session we're gonna do today or during this time is not enough time. So we're gonna give y'all a little break in between down the line, and then we're gonna wrap this up at the second viewing. But we're gonna cover everything. We're gonna cover some things that everybody's not always comfortable talking about, but we're gonna talk about it. You can't get through it if we don't talk about it. So I thank y'all once again. We're gonna go ahead and get this thing started. But before we go forward, Sabrina, as I did, I want you to go forward in speaking into further detail about who you are, what you do, and what you represent.
My name is Sabrina Harris, and I sit before you on assignment from God. Back in 2013, as I sit here, it actually gives me chills every time I think about it and talk about it. But God began to really deal with me. And He began to show me that I had accomplished a lot of things and done a lot of good up until that present time. In addition to everything that I've been through that was a bit controversial, traumatic, and all of that. But He showed me there was a purpose inside of it, through visions, through prophecy, through confirmation. And He called me to do a great work in the community. And that is what I lead with, that I'm here on assignment. Nothing is really about Sabrina, although in context, I'm here physically and body. You hear my voice, you see the different things that I do, but it is all spearheaded by God, and I give Him all due praise for that. As for me as a person, I'm married to an amazing man. We're now 6 years into the marriage. We actually celebrate our anniversary on June 28th. right after this premieres. And I thank God for the opportunity to know what love in the way that it was biblically designed is supposed to be like and feel like, and it's been very beautiful. I have 3 biological children, they're girls, and I have 3 bonus children, and they're sons. We have a carefully orchestrated Brady Bunch of sorts, but it's been very beautiful for me not to have sons, to be able to participate in the rearing and loving and guiding of his son. So it's been very beautiful in that way. My mother is here locally, aunts, cousins, a myriad of family members. I do have a brother who lives out of state, and I'm just thankful for the family unit. We're not perfect, but we're perfectly suited for each other as a family. I pray over my family, and I ask God to always navigate us through whatever it is that we go through and bind us together in love. In addition to being a devoted mental health professional, and I have such amazing colleagues on this field, I'm also the CEO, Executive Director, and the Advocacy Strategist for the House of Love Illionaires Incorporated. It is an entity, organization, 501c3 agency that is very dear to my heart. It was birthed out of my experiential situations with trauma and victimization, and our goal is to journey with those either going through or coming out some of the worst ordeals in their lives, and to make sure that they understand that they're not alone. And we also birthed through HOL the Cultured Pearls of Wisdom show. It was a vision God gave me several years ago that has come to fruition. And the primary premise of this platform, which is internet-based, social media-based, is that it's time for us to really emphasize mental health awareness, positive psychology, coping and calming strategies, the holistic wellness approaches, all of these different facets to life, and those things that will help us on our journey to heal, to stabilize, to recover, and to be whole. So the show not only emphasizes professionals, which they are amazing in their own right, but we also speak to the experiential nature of the individual who has endured a particular thing, overcome a particular thing, and sometimes it is that person who's going through a particular thing. So all I can say as it relates to what we're doing in the community and beyond is get ready. There is so much on the table, so much brewing already in the back that you can't see, but it's coming to the forefront in due time. I ask you to cover us with prayer as God leads us through everything that we do. And I thank you to those who have been committed to anything that myself or the individuals around me are participating in. Just understand that what we do is for the betterment of you. And we cannot do what we do beneficially without you. So thank you for your continued support. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your blessings. And thank you for simply being you. God bless you.
Thank you, Sabrina. Thank you, Sabrina, for the in-depth look into who you are and what you do and what you represent. I definitely do appreciate you, knowing you and being a part of everything, including the House of Love Illionaires. I've definitely grown as a man, as a person, just learning, just being around the things that we do for the community. I definitely appreciate you for allowing me to be a part of it. It's definitely been a godsend to be a part of everything that you continue to do. And I bless you, and I thank you for being a part of this today. So without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and bring in the panelists. We're gonna go ahead and introduce them, and you can get to know each one of the panelists that we have today. So I will introduce my grown men. Sabrina, you can go ahead and introduce the grown women. And I'll let you go ahead and start with the first one.
She's a queen. I'm honored to call her a friend. She's the co-host of the Cultured Pearls of Wisdom show. But more than that, she is God-led, God-filled, God-ordained, and God-driven. I love everything about her, especially her choice phrase, speak life. There is so much embedded into that, because with so much negativity and detriment in the world, she still finds a way to bring the goodness, to bring the substance, to bring the richness, to educate our minds and inspire our souls. So I bring to you no other than the beautiful, the amazing, the impactful, and the powerful Coretta Talbot.
Hello, what up everybody? This is your girl Coretta Talbot. I also go by Coretta Speaks Life. And God has blessed me with an amazing platform to inspire, encourage, help equip, and empower other individuals to use their words in a constructive way and not in a destructive manner. And I'm so happy to be here. Like with Grown Man Moves, like I'm like, VLP, let's get it, let's go. I can also be contacted, or you can hear more about and see what God is doing through my life on my platform of social media at Coretta Speaks Life, or on Instagram at Coretta Speaks Life. And I'm just happy to be here. Let's get it.
Okay, thank you, Sabrina. Okay, the first person I'm gonna go ahead and bring out and introduce is a young man who I've known a couple years now, since I've been doing this Christian rap music and everything. And he's a young man that kind of does a lot of the things I do as far as promoting artists and businesses, as far as elevating and ministering to men, and even doing the Christian rap music. You know, we met doing the Christian rap music. We met doing concerts and connecting on music and things of that nature, going out and to the communities, ministering through music. And he's been a good dude. He's been a good friend of mine. And I definitely appreciate him for being a part of this. So I'm gonna bring on, I know him as PK, DJ PK, AKA Joshua J. White.
What's up, family? My name is Jay White. I'm an evangelist, music producer, and music consultant and recording artist out of Miami, Florida.
So now this is a moment I've truly been waiting for, but I am so amazingly honored to bring before you today a woman who is loved by many, beloved, honored, respected, colleagues, friends, family, community. She's just simply adored, and she's earned every bit of it. And I bring before you now the amazing Dr. Avis Chapman Reese.
Hello, my name is Dr. Avis Chapman Reese. I'm a native of Riviera Beach, Florida, a 1989 graduate of Palm Beach Lakes High School, 1994 graduate of Florida Memorial College, now University, and my graduate degrees are in education from Nova Southeastern University.
Okay. The next person I'm gonna go ahead and introduce is a friend of mine. All of these people who I consider friends, I've been knowing them for a couple of years, and I met him through another friend of mine, and I heard his testimony and what he had been through, similar to my testimony, as far as going through an ordeal where not being able to walk, being paralyzed, and that's something that me and him had in common, as far as at a point in time where we weren't able to use our extremities to be able to walk and things of that nature, but God got us through that. And I definitely want you to hear his testimony today, because it's a great testimony. And I'm gonna bring on my friend Arian LeVar.
So my name is Arian LeVar. I want to thank Vel for having me here today. Grateful to be a part of this project. I think it's going to be really effective, and it's something that's much needed in today's time with all of the issues that we have going on. I have a ministry. My ministry is the National World of Outreach Corp. We are a nonprofit organization that just want to serve the community and be used of God and make a difference in the world today. Also, we have Arian LeVar Services. We provide multiple different services. Mostly we are a media-based organization. I want to thank God for my wife, Miss Jacqueline Singletary. She also has a management group, Hickman Management. I'm also one of her artists. I'm a gospel artist myself, as well as a minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ, and I'm an ordained pastor and also evangelist. And I'm just grateful to be a part of what God is doing today, and grateful to be a part of what God has assigned VLP and VLP's Entertainment to launch this project, because hey man, it's time for Grown Man Moves, man.
It is nothing less than my honor to bring before you, as a part of this event platform, the beautiful, the talented, the amazing, the gifted, Elena Worley, better known as Elena the Poet.
Good evening, everyone. I am Elena the Poet, and I am so honored and blessed to be a part of Grown Man, Grown Woman Moves Table Talk.
All right, so the next person we're gonna bring on, the next grown man we're gonna bring on is a guy who I've met a few years ago. And I met him at one of the concerts that I did, and he actually booked me to be a part of an event. At the time, I didn't know what that event was, but he saw me at one of the shows, and he met me afterwards and said, I really want you to come out there and be a part of this event that we're doing. At the time, I didn't even know what the event was, but of course I accepted. I prayed about it and accepted. And later on, I found out it was the first annual Juneteenth event in Hollywood, which his wife was headlining, which his wife was putting on, and he was helping her do it. So they booked me on it, and when I realized what it was, I got more involved with it. And I definitely appreciate him. I appreciate his wife, Georgette, and I appreciate him for the connection. And I really love to hear what he had to say today. So we're gonna bring on Deacon Bruce Wiggins.
Hello, how everyone doing? My name is Bruce Wiggins. I'm a deacon at High Vision Ministry, where the pastor is Anthony Sanders of Hollandale Beach Boulevard.
So I'm excited right now because I was told that I needed to meet this amazing woman. I was told that she was like a mirror to myself, so very intrigued, and even looking at her accolades and her accomplishments, absolutely amazing. The beautiful LaQuisha Williams, certified events manager, certified life coach, radio personality, motivational speaker, author, mindfulness coach, just so many different dimensions that round out this woman. It is my honor to bring her before you today.
Hi, my name is Dr. LaQuisha Williams, and I am the creator of the World Class Woman Network. I help successful women live their best lives, not lie, from the inside out. And I'm here to tell you that success is an inside job.
Okay, this next friend of mine, who I'm gonna introduce, is a true friend. He's one of my best friends. I've been knowing him for years, going back before a lot of the things that I'm into now, the life that I'm living now. We go way back. And he's definitely a friend I've always been able to talk to. I've always been able to connect with. He's definitely been able to speak certain things and help me to just guide, navigate. You need those friends that can be able to speak the truth to you, to be able to not lie to you, but just be real with you on some things. And he's definitely been one that I'm astonished about. No matter what state he's in, no matter where he's at, no matter what he's doing, he can always just go right into the Word of God and just pick out some scriptures and things like that. And it's definitely been a great friendship because we've always been able to elevate one another, to go at one another in a positive manner, to push us to elevate ourselves, to be better. So I'm gonna go ahead and introduce my friend, but he's stupid though. He's a comedian. He's stupid though. Stupid. STEW, apostrophe PIT. Stupid. I'm gonna introduce my man, Keith Stupid Lee.
Yo, it's your boy, Keith Stupid Lee. You already know. Keith the Professor, Keith Music. Y'all know where we getting in at. Out here with my boy VLP, Grown Women, Grown Man Moves. Let's get it in. Let's have that talk.
Last but not least, I'm gonna introduce another guy who's been my best friend for a very long time, very long time. He was the best man at my wedding. We go way back to middle school, way back to not being able to do the things we're doing now, but we've been that close. We definitely been friends. We definitely been able to help one another in life, growing and just dealing with every aspect of life, the highs and the lows, the rich and the poor, whatever it may be. And he's definitely been that to me over time. And he's definitely been an inspiration in all that he's done in his life, elevating himself, going to school. Everything he's done has been an inspiration to me, and I'm definitely proud of this young man here. So I want to introduce you guys to my friend, Eric Lewis.
Hello everyone, my name is Eric Lewis, school principal at Championship Academy of Distinction for the West Broward campus. I've been in the field of social services and helping people for over 21 years. My passion is definitely the kids and just people in general, just serving our communities that need us the most. Just being able to give back and be a change agent is the things that I love to do the most. Just encouraging and changing lives. Our kids are our future, and just being able to be involved in their life and see them grow each and every day, it's a tremendous reward. So I'm grateful and I'm thankful for different opportunities that I've been blessed with over the last few years. And, you know, as always, I have a saying, great futures start here. Let's get it done.
So we're going to start out with my men, and I want y'all individually to tell me, what is your definition of grown man moves?
My definition of grown man moves is a man taking charge of his own self, his own responsibilities, and admitting that he's wrong. Treating a woman like a lady and not being wrong and destructive to those that's with him and against him. You have to have respect in order to get respect. So that's what I want you young men to do. Always respect those who don't respect you, because in the end, it's going to work on your behalf. And thus said the Lord.
My definition of a grown man move, alright, I just say it like this. The Bible already put it simple. When I was a child, I thought as a child. When I became a man, I put away childish things. So for me, grown man moves is about stability. I started thinking different. Yeah, sometimes you get grown in your sins, and sometimes you get grown in your righteousness, but you just think differently than when you was doing your sins when you was younger versus to how you was doing your sins when you're older. But also when you're doing righteousness, you think differently. Grown man moves to me is about the stability of a man, which is that you don't give up. No matter how many times you fall down, no matter how many times that people are going to talk about you, no matter what the mistakes you make, you stand up and you continue to be a man. Because, you know, there's a lot of people out there, man, they fail. They don't want to be a man no more. So a grown man move to me is leave that childish junk behind in high school. We're done with that. Somebody talking about you, all right, cool. Get past it, man. You ain't no worry about it. You just be you, and you don't have to worry about it no more. So to me, that's the definition of a grown man. It don't mean that because you got hair on your body, that don't make you a grown man. Just because you got a job don't make you a grown man. There's some immature grown people out here because they older, but they still immature and they think wrong. So in your mind frame, you're gonna have to think different. I don't really like to convey this knowledge a lot, but I had a friend tell me this one time. Either be good or be good at it. So either you're gonna think grown in righteousness or you're gonna think grown in sin. But either way, you're gonna have to be grown at one moment in your life to make a decision that's gonna be right for you and your life. Tough decision to make, but it all depends on where you at in your life. But all I know is that Jesus makes it better for me, and that's that.
My definition of grown man moves is a young man or a man that is doing things in a positive and mature direction. They've grown to understand that moving in a positive direction as a grown man and making things happen as far as job, stability, being stable, is definitely the way that in which we need to perceive things. So grown man moves is definitely things that you've grown into over the last few years as a man, and you continue to see things in a different perspective than you did yesterday.
My definition of a grown man is a man who understands his identity, his purpose in life, and believes in supporting the people around him and his family, his community, and those who are connected to him. A grown man is a man who really respects women, A grown man is a man who believes in taking care of his children and being responsible for those he loves and those that love him. A grown man is a man who's very mature and knows how to deal with his enemies, knows and believes that his hands and his mind was created to do work, to create opportunities for other people, and to be able to help others grow in their life and discover their purpose. That's my definition of a grown man.
A grown man move would be a move that you make according to what you know needs to be done, according to not an easy or an escape, from a responsibility, but a decision that revolves around taking responsibility and knowing what is the right thing to do versus a decision that will manipulate a situation.
My boys, my men, grown men, that's right. So we're not gonna hog all the time. So go ahead, Sabrina.
My definition of grown woman moves is tailored in a lot. There's no simple answer to that, because to me, before you get to the moving part, you've got to really define the woman part. And that's where I think there's a lot of assumption. I think there's an assumption after a woman has advanced through her adolescent stage, her teenage stage, she's reached 18 years of age, or all of these different things that give you the ability to do some things that you weren't able to do before. There's an assumption that the woman or the person is solidified. And I think that is truly misplaced, even understanding that our brain is still developing until the age of 25. So there's a lot of growing, and there's a lot of knowing, and there's a lot of doing. There's a lot of things that have to take place before you're really able to call and consider yourself justifiably a woman. It is my perspective, and it's how I feel that the church has a lot to do with the grooming of a woman or a man. And the reason I say that is because the Bible has specific verses that speak to the way that a man or a woman should conduct him or herself. And one Bible verse in particular speaks of, it takes it from a male perspective, but I believe it definitely applies to the female perspective, that the man should put aside his childish ways. He should be able to reason and speak and conduct himself in a logical fashion. And I want to say it's 1 Corinthians 13:11. That is the scripture. But it speaks to that understanding. So that means that there's a process of maturity and growth that needs to happen. But before we could ever consent to saying that we are a man or a woman, but in this instance, we're talking about a woman. So our bodies are going to grow. They develop. Our brain develops. But along the way, to really reach maturity and that state of being defined as a woman, there has to be a level of grooming, nurturing, teaching, educating, guiding, disciplining, redirecting. There are so many things that are embedded into that, and I take that back to the church. I believe that my upbringing in spirituality was deeply rooted all along. Did I veer from some of the things that I was taught over the course of my life? I did. I think we all do to some degree. Even though we know that a thing is wrong, we reach into and connect into what soothes us or what motivates us or what really feels good to us in the moment, but it's not necessarily the right thing to do. But I believe in the scripture that says if these things are embedded in you and rooted in you, this is the way that you will ultimately rise up and conduct yourself in the future. And even if you should navigate away from these things, you will eventually return to them. So I will never forget an event that we did. It was called Purple Rain. And Pastor Queen Hinkle, she was one of these speakers at this event. And she talked about the ruby. Because at that point, up until that point rather, I had always placed emphasis on a diamond. Like I knew I had to go through some difficult things. I knew I had to be under pressure to come out like a diamond and be shining. I used to love that song, Shine Bright Like a Diamond. I loved all of that, and that was the mindset that I had. But she talked about the ruby, and she went to the scripture that emphasized that the ruby was the most priceless, the most precious pearl. It trumped a diamond completely. And it was what God wanted in us as virtuous women, to have that mindset, to have that demeanor, to carry ourselves in a certain way, to understand what we want and be able to command that, to live a good, godly life, and to also be that which could be a representation or a role model to our children, and even to the men that we eventually would draw to us. For them to understand, even when they came into our presence, that this is not a normal woman that I'm dealing with. She's cut from a different cloth. She subscribes to a completely different standard. And her expectations, I gotta come at her a little bit different. But it's all about how we view ourselves. So when speaking about a grown woman, I would say the art of maturity is very important. To understand who you are, what you are, inside of the context of your purpose and what you were sent here to be and do, I think is hugely important. And to also understand that along the way, there are a lot of things that you're going to pick up and put into your toolbox. Spirituality is one. The grooming nature of how you communicate and present yourself is another. But the Bible also speaks of us not being so vain that we only care about our outer appearance and we're not at all emphasizing the inner woman. Our characteristics, our attributes, our mindset, what we carry in our heart, how pure is our heart, how are we toward our brothers and sisters, how are we as it relates to helping or hurting, what kind of person have we chosen to be? I think that's indicative of a woman, the essence of a woman. How do we pick up from our mistakes? Do we own it? Do we accept it? Do we accept responsibility? Are we accountable? Or do we deny? Do we shun? Do we walk away? And do we not deal? I think our mental health is a huge part of it. Understanding along the way that there's a lot of pressure on women. And I believe there's pressure to even degree on a man. But the woman is the helpmate. So we have to ensure even more that we are stable and whole for our husbands, for our children, for those in the community, for anyone around us, professional colleagues, whatever we've commanded in our life. Our mental health is even more important. To understand that we deserve to be treated well. I mentioned the ruby and the most priceless, valuable gem on this planet. We deserve to be treated as such, but we've got to position ourselves that others desire to treat us in that way. To command nothing less than we deserve. To become an educated woman, a well-rounded woman, a woman who can speak and attest even to her experiences and her history and her culture. That's all embedded in a woman. To be a woman who understands that she needs to be a go-getter. That there are times that she needs to push the gas pedal and really make things happen. A no-nonsense woman, a drama-free woman, a woman on her game, a boss woman, a woman who's achieving things. But I also say a woman who understands that it takes a village and that we need to be able to work together. So never a woman who is only about herself. But a woman, I said, if you're going higher, grab the hand and grab the arm of the others around you and let's go higher together. Never should we be in a position or condition to say this is just about me, about myself. I want to see us all win. And if you ever hear me say it, if you ever hear me post it, I truly mean that from the bottom of my heart. I want to see us all win. So to infuse the moving part in means just that we have pushed the gas pedal, we have turned a corner, we are running the race, we're doing whatever we need to do to fulfill our purpose and be beneficial in today's society. It means that we're figuring out the path that has been ordained for us and that we're making sure along that pathway We're figuring out what we can do to potentially help other people or bring other people in as well as determined. We're making sure that our family's okay. We're making sure that our homes are okay. We're making sure that our spouses or our mates or however your relationships are defined, we're making sure as much as possible that everything is okay. But within that continuum of care of us pouring out of our cups, we've also carefully and strategically created a way for us to be refilled. Never can we consistently pour out, and expect not to be depleted. You've got to figure out a way for you to be refilled, made whole, and to be sustained. And a part in the moving also is understanding there are things that I need to do, but I cannot do everything. And I'm going to say that again. There are things that I need to do, so I can't do everything. One of the biggest movers and shakers that I know, they seek information constantly and support from others around them. They know a lot, they can do a lot, they've accomplished a lot, but they also understand the value that they find in other people. And while you're moving, make sure you're moving strategically. We're not running all over people. We're not in other people's lanes. We're not just turning around in circles. We're moving with substance and with a strategic approach to life. We're doing particular things for particular reasons. And if we're called to task to explain our position, we can do just that. I'm doing this for this reason, and this is the end result. And even inside of moving, I say, be solution oriented. Don't just move because the time or the moment calls for it. Sometimes the most strategic person in the world and the solution oriented person will understand I can be in the moment and pause and be still and just take in the moment. Then I sit down and I go back and revisit some things and think about some things and figure out what is the best move and the best strategy for me. So putting that all together, to be honest with you, to even get to a grown woman, it's a whole journey that begins at birth. It begins by your rearing, your environmental exposure, your culture, your teaching, and church is a huge part of that. I encourage all parents, all mothers, all fathers watching it, make sure that your children have the undergirth of spirituality. Make sure that they understand the importance, especially our women, of developing a personal relationship with God. Make sure they understand that yes, to be beautiful, to be slayed, to be well put together, and all of that is amazing. But God is more concerned with our inner woman and inner man. Let's go with the importance of having a beautiful heart, a mind of substance, and a spirit that resonates and exudes peace and understanding. Let's shy away from the cattiness and the pettiness and the drama and all of the competition and different things that makes life so very difficult for no reason at all. Let's shy away from when the woman walks in the room who's beautiful to trying to find a way to cut her down, to being the first to go over and say, sis, you're beautiful. Give her credit where it's due. If you want to understand how she got to that place or what she's doing to look the way she's doing, ask questions. Maybe it's even a business opportunity. Who knows? But let's get away from being our own worst enemy. And I'm appealing to my community right now, especially my queen sisters who are listening to this. It's time for us to come together and stay together. It's not just a Facebook post for me. I can truly say that I've searched my heart continuously, and right now I'm almost to a place of doing it on a daily basis. And I find no hate. I find no ill will. I find no envy, malice, or any of that. I do find disappointment. I do find sadness at times for the things that I've had to endure and the things that I have to go through no fault of my own, but there is no blame. What I know for sure is to come out as pure gold, we have to be willing to go to the fire. I said again, to come out as pure gold, we have to be willing to go through the fire. There is a process to the best of the best. Anybody who's made it anywhere and achieved anything will tell you
There were some experiences and there is a process. Don't be afraid of the process. Be willing to go through the process. Thank God for the process and honor your process. And once you figure out the strategy for being a grown woman in the 21st century who's making major moves and doing it well, I want you to articulate that to the women around you. I want you to teach our teens and our adolescents and our young people. Give that to them. Gift them what you know and understand because you've made it. But I applaud every woman who has found a way to be purposeful, to be loving, to be graceful, to be authentic, to be genuine, to be godly-like, but most of all, to be productive and a positive part of this society. Move, grown woman, and I'm going to be there to move right with you. Because when we get to that place, it's a beautiful thing when we can say, I'm a grown woman, and I'm making grown woman moves.
Grown woman moves. For me, like, that's when you have come to a place in yourself that, one, that you're comfortable with knowing who you are and knowing who your creator is. And that's God for me, Jesus Christ. I can think about the many times that I have been in, I can think about the many encounters and experiences that I've had with women that are up age, say for instance in their 40s, 30s, 20s, and they act like little girls. And it's not so much because that's where they still are in their lives as far as being there physically and by age, but because of their mentality, because of their character, because of their attitude, because of how they think. And not only just them, but I've been there too. I'm 30 years old, 33 years old, but there have been times when I didn't act like my age because of my insecurities, because of my character, because of how I thought. So for me, grown woman moves, man, is when you really have come to a place where you're like, I haven't arrived, because life is a journey, but you've come to the place like, man, I got to get comfortable and love me and know me before I can really step out in the world and make any type of move. Because when you make a move, you want to make that as confidently and with as much confidence and competence within yourself and who you are and whose you are. Because at the end of the day, it's all about your character. It's all about your spirit, man. It's all about how you think, man. How you move is going to be based off of all of that. So when it comes down to grown woman moves, man, you out here getting it. You're not getting it in a way, when I say getting it, you out here grinding in your purpose. And in the midst of that, you're not trying to step on other women's toes because you're confident. You're not trying to compare yourself because you're confident. And even when those things come up in yourself, you have a backbone in your faith and your walk with Christ, if that's what you believe. And I'm just speaking from my perspective, and he gets you right all the time. He gets you right. So for grown woman moves, man, you look at how not only can your life be better and be its best, but you out here trying to make sure that you living out your purpose and that that's spreading to other individuals. That your life in itself is an impact. Right? That you're not looking for other people to take care of you. You're not waiting on a man to make you complete and make you whole. Grown woman moves. You step out in the world confident, not having a problem with depending on and being in fellowship with others. But listen, that's not where your hope come from. That's not your source. Those are not your sources. Those are your resources. So a grown woman, make it plain and simple. Know who she is and who she is. I'm just saying, she steps out into the world every day, even when she's fragile, but she steps out with the authority and with the anointing and with the power and the strength and the mindset of God.
My definition of grown woman moves first start mentally. It's a mentality. It is a mindset to make conscious decisions that will benefit your present and your future. A grown woman is responsible and wants to be organized. She wants so many other things. It just goes above the age of what you are. Some women are forced to grow up early, and just being grown and the decisions that you make determine grown woman moves. So I know some grown women in this world, and I strive to be more grown, more organized, more responsible, greater than I am. But that is my definition of grown woman moves. It's a mentality.
Grown woman moves to me is one of two things. The first is taking responsibility. Taking the responsibility of what has happened in your past. You cannot be and become all that you were created to be if you are stuck in your past. So it's time to be aware. It's time to take responsibility. It's time to look in the mirror and what I call the mirror effect and tell yourself, I forgive you. And once you do that, it doesn't matter what someone else has done to you. So when you're talking about grown woman moves, sometimes you have to go back in order to move forward. The next thing I would say is that you have to be authentic. If you're not being yourself, people will then fall in love with someone who's not real. They will fall in love with someone you are frustrated with. So why not show the world your best self? Why not show up as the person you are called to be?
Okay, so once again, everything's been said. I'm enjoying, I'm receiving, and I thank you all. Thank you all, really. So we've asked a few different participants to speak on certain topics.
I'm so blessed and honored to be a part of this. I just want to give a shout out real quick to my brother VelP, who is an amazing person and talent. Just doing some things in the community and making moves for sure. Also, I want to shout out the beautiful queen that is Sabrina Harris, who is also an amazing person, planting seeds and fulfilling purpose in the homes of so many families and children across South Florida. So we just want to give praise where it is due. I want to shout those people out. Real quick, I just want to open up before I get started. The subject at hand that I chose for this table talk is, why do black women hate other black women? Isn't that something? That's the topic I chose as it was given to me that way. But I kind of rearranged and tweaked that a little bit, and I wanted to ask the question, why do women hate other women? Because my belief and my opinion is that it is not a race thing. It hasn't been narrowed down. I think that the question black is because culturally, as black women, that is the majority of the women that we surround ourselves with. And so the question has to be asked in the community. But I think overall in the world, the question needs to be asked, why do women hate other women? So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I am so excited to get into that topic. Before I start that, I just want to open up in a little prayer. And you can repeat this prayer after me if you'd like, or at another time, whenever you feel it's best. But we want to usher the spirit in before we get started. So this prayer just reads, Dear God, we thank you for this day. I wouldn't be here to make something happen different in my life or the life of someone else if it had not been for you. Now, Lord, bless the listeners of this broadcast, and also bless each and every speaker, that a word from you will hit each and every heart in its proper place. We thank you and we love you. Amen. All right. So I want to get started. And what I did for this thing was I went around and I asked questions to some real women, just to get their opinions, because my opinion is my own and I can do research and, and those things will be theories and opinions of other women, because this is something that quite naturally is probably going to boil down to the same answer. And it's the truth, y'all. Every woman that I spoke with pretty much came up with the same type of answer for this question. So I just want to share a little bit of that with you, if it's okay. I have to go to my paper and stuff. Let's see here. So this was interesting to me, because I had my thoughts and my opinions, but I wrote it down. So I want to introduce each woman to you as, you know, her opinion and what she feels. I think it's very important in the community that we share each other's views, because we all think similarly in some way or another. So the question is asked, why do women hate other women? To Erica Singleton, who is a wife, a mother, a financial consultant. The answer that she gave me is, I think women hate other women because they're insecure, they're intimidated, and they're immature, and they're just not aware of themselves. Now, I shorten these up because I got a lot to say. So okay, all right, sister, we respect that. My next person that I ask is a young lady by the name of Caitlin Walsh. She is a student and she is a single woman, and her answer is simple and plain: just because they are jealous. That's it. They're jealous of one another. Okay, Miss Walsh. All right. The next individual woman that I asked, her name is Alexis Ponder. She is a mother, a wife, and she's a customer service representative. Her reply was, because women hate when another woman is doing better than her, or just doing what they think is better than what they have going on, was what her answer was. And I says, okay. I also have Miss Shamoka Faison, who is a mother, a wife, and a business owner. Her opinion is that they don't love themselves. I believe whatever they hate about themselves is what they hate about other women. It's insecurities within. Right. Okay, so you guys see how that answer kind of is all the same. This right here is one last person that I asked, and I thought her answer was so profound and so powerful that I couldn't even write it down. I had to record it and let you guys hear it for yourselves. So the last woman that I asked is Valerie Williams, who is a mother, a widow of the late Pastor Stanley Williams. She's a published author, a counselor, and an evangelist. And I asked her the question, why do you think other women or women hate other women? And this was her reply.
Why do you think women hate other women?
I think women hate other women because of what's inside of them and what they refuse to act on that God has given them. But God has given every woman a measure of faith. Faith to accomplish whatever she wants in this world. Faith to become who He designed her to be. But rather than us develop that faith and nurture that faith, we live with our own little measure of faith. And as a result of that, living with that measure of faith, we look at other women, because misery loves company. It just does. When someone is not what they want to be or what they're designed to be, what they allow is that thing inside of them make them pull at another woman, or not to see the greatness in another woman. Because even if she don't see it or act on what she sees, she recognizes it. Because the word of God said you'll see it. They see the greatness in you. But because you don't want to become great, because you want to be content with your measure of faith, you don't support your sister. You don't empower your sister. You don't push your sister, because you want your sister to be just like you.
I had to record that for you because I felt that in my bones, you know. And the reason I felt that in my bones is because I share that same passion and that same energy. I struggle so much with certain things as a woman, as a poet in the industry, someone as an artist who's trying to make it. I come in contact with a lot of different women, and I've just been able to see for myself that there's a surface love that we have for one another. It's not as deep as it should be, and quite naturally, like most women feel, as you've heard, is because of a insecurity or a struggle that we all have within ourselves. And we all know that the battle of good and evil takes place within first. So a lot of times, if we're not showing our sisters love, we probably are not genuinely showing our brothers love, because we are not genuinely loving ourselves the way that we should. And in order to love ourselves the way we should, we must first love our Creator. And this is where I believe the design of things kind of gets knocked off, because we love out of order, y'all. And this is why we struggle with loving our sister genuinely and truly. Now, I am a poet, and quite naturally, I have been blessed with the ability to put words together so that I'm able to deliver them the way that God wants them to be delivered. And so I wrote a poem that I feel best describes what is the answer to this question. So here it is. Dear self, I wanted to take the time to talk to you. In regards to some of the things you put me through, I think it's appropriate that I keep it real with you, since it's when you feel that I feel it too. You said you reflect, but you never do. So I'm stepping out of my comfort zone with urgency to seize these few minutes just to deal with me. Before it's on forward March to April, May, and June, the end of the year never comes too soon when life consumes you and you're trapped in the womb of your daily routine, and you make up your face like you was Regine from Living Single, but you ain't living single. And you ain't married, and you carry your past and the weight of the world on your shoulder, and now you're 1 year older. And I watch you in the distance and record every instance in my memory, taking note for the day that you stare back at me straight in the eye where the truth and the lie lay. Can you just make today about you? I'm not talking spa trips or sips of wine or silent me time. No, this is divine intervention, scenes of lamentations, bush burning, fire revelations, vibrating higher than your highest vibration. Yet, I'm patiently waiting. Though I'm anxious at the thought of you blinding yourself intentionally with numerous justifications for being too busy for me. I'm playing it cool so you don't notice my desperation, but I know temptation is somewhere celebrating its victory over me. Thinks because the many times he came, you entertained him first, that he's better and I'm worse. No, I'm stepping out of my comfort zone with urgency to seize these few minutes just to deal with the fact that seconds in time move as fast as it may appear. And you know me better than you think you do. But I know you better than you know me. When will you be vulnerable enough to show me that you love me like you say every other day? It was just the other day when you said something's gotta change. What happened to that attitude, that mentality? If you change your thoughts and remember me in your brain where I occupy a largely small space, I could taste the tears when they fall down your face. I see the traces on your skin through the mirror. It's obvious you're yearning, and I'm yearning your attention. When you're done, will you talk to me? Confess your faults with me? Take off the gloss with me? How long will you make me wait? Thank you. We have to love ourselves first, y'all. This is the answer to my question. Again, thank you so much for having me. I hope that the words I've given was able to bless somebody somewhere in this world. And with that, I have done my job. Y'all be blessed. Again, remember, poetry is a gift.
The topic that I would like to speak about is, am I my sister's keeper? What comes to mind is being selfless, being compassionate, courageous in her own right, and taking down your own agenda. For me, I've been on both sides of the spectrum. I've been hurt by women who I thought were my friends, sharing intimate details of my life or what I've been going through. And sometimes women can use information like that to hurt others. Now I'm a part of a sorority where we foster sisterhood. And being my sister's keeper means that you do away with your own agenda. You are selfless, you are compassionate, you're dedicated, you're loyal, not only to whatever cause, but to yourself and to your sisters. Look at what's going on today in the news around the communities. We have such a crab pot mentality where everything amongst Black women is competition, be it looks, be it education, be it social status, or what have you. But sometimes I find that a lot of women who hurt other women are hurting themselves. So it's so important to have someone in your corner that have that same mantra that we have, as I have my sister's best interests at heart. Not to use things that are personal that they share as a means of gossip. We do that. Women, mainly Black women, we're backbiting. We are selfish. We don't want to see each other get ahead. And so I think that being transparent, being obedient, and being selfless is one of the main things that would drive or change the trajectory of that mantra, being my sister's keeper.
I was born in 1979. I grew up in a small town called Carver's Home, and that's located in the city of Pompano, Broward County, in South Florida area, down south area. And in this neighborhood, you pretty much have to grow up quick. And it was a lot of poverty, should I say. And with that, growing up in poverty and surrounded around a lot of temptation that where you see a way out of poverty, you know, is pretty much one of your first major decisions that you make in life, because you want to escape poverty. And in my neighborhood, it was nothing but drugs, drug use, drug dealing, violence, guns, and all of the above of what you see in today's life. And this though it was a small town, it pretty much had an effect on society and was a part of an organized crime system that ran from from Miami, all, you know, maybe up to about New York or even further along the lines. And I was around about, I say 12, when I see it as being draft. So in this community, you know, yes, it was very rough, it was very tough, you know, but you always have a decision, you know, just when you're young like that and you don't have a lot of wisdom, you don't have a lot of knowledge, you're subject to take a way out, accept the escape from the position, an uncomfortable position. And in this case, we're talking about poverty in the community. I know a lot of people really could, you know, identify with poverty, and the drug industry was that escape. It is that escape for many of us, you know. So that was the move I made at that age. I accepted that opportunity when I was presented. They taught me how to run cars. I had friends that taught me how to profit with you know, the nickel and diamond part of the industry. But because, like I said, I was seen as trustworthy, at a very, very young age, and I was also already affiliated with different people who had, major operations running. I was recruited and I was taught how to prepare drug product, and I was pretty much groomed into what they call a lab man. So I was a lab man, I was a gunman, a safe haven, and a lead in one of the organized crime units, street organizations or whatnot, should I say. And that led me to some dark places, some difficult positions in my life in years to come. It was certain things that was in me that the street life couldn't control, it couldn't take away, but still I was involved in things that I don't condone to this day. And one of the messages that we want to send today is that we have choices. We have choices, and I chose, and I'm grateful that God delivered me, and saved me from myself, my own choices. And, shortly after becoming a family man, like I said, at the age of 16, when I was around 18, that's when I was robbed of my education from the school. I was withdrawn, put out of Ely High School. They said that I lived a lifestyle as an adult, and their school system was for kids. And I was only 18 years old, and you had other people, young ladies that was pregnant, that was 19, 20, other people, that they allowed to stay. But they told me that, I couldn't stay. And right after that, when I was withdrawn, I was 19. I was withdrawn, and that very next year when I turned 20 was when I was left for dead after being set up in a robbery act, and I was shot down, left for dead, and I woke up the next day in the hospital after surgery, not knowing that I was even in surgery, to a diagnosis of being paralyzed and that I may never walk again. And they began to tell me that we've done what we can do. We're trying other things, but it was like, we can't promise you that you will walk again. We don't, you may never walk again. And they was telling me I may never have kids and all of these things. I was paralyzed from the waist down. I was shot, hitting my right pelvis. The bullet traveled through, hit my spine, fractured my spine, and came through my left pelvis, but it was actually stuck on the surface in a muscle for about 3 years. It stayed there for over 3 years because I didn't have insurance to cover an operation to have it removed. That's crazy though, and one of the things that's big today, medical health, and God is so amazing. Even then, the doctors began to tell me that it was a miracle that I wasn't totally paralyzed throughout my entire body, because when the angles where the bullet went in, it crashing through the center of my pelvis. They said, the doctors told me this, they said the bullet, when it went in, they said the bullet had to turn and go around my spine, but it still grazed my spine and fractured it. And I still live with the effects right now today. Here we are in year 2020. That was 1999, and I still live from the effects. But God has brought me a long way from being able to do nothing for myself in the bed, just laying there. I couldn't feed myself. I couldn't go to the bathroom. It was very tough, and I used to be pushed in wheelchairs. Went from there to walking on the walker, to crutches, to a cane stick. I used the cane stick for a long time, and by the grace of God, I no longer have to use that cane stick. But I have a song that talks about showing lack of appreciation, where I went back in the streets after God blessed me with the ability to be able to walk again, and I battled depression for 10 years, not unknowingly. And 10 years later, in 2009, I had a suicide attempt. And that came from just being ungrateful because I wasn't able to do a lot of the things that I used to do. Run, play basketball. And like I said, I used to play for the school. That was one of my dreams, to be a basketball player. I used to be able to run fast, and I used to dance. And all of these things was robbed, including my education, because of the decision that I made when I was around 12 years old to be a part of a street life. And in 2009, I attempted suicide where I put a gun in my head and pulled the trigger from a result of drug use. I was diagnosed with depression, undetected self-medicating with the drug usage, and one day I was trying to get high and I couldn't. And I found myself sitting in the room that night, and I don't know what happened. It was like everything that I had took that day just hit me all at once. A bunch of pills, marijuana, alcohol, and it was like it was a blackout. And I woke up the next day and I was vapor acting into a mental institution, handcuffed to the bed with police standing around me, my mother, and they told me that I had lost my mind. I had an episode wherein also I had flashes in my mind of just putting a gun to my head, pulling the trigger, and instead of that bullet going into my head, they couldn't explain it. It wound up in my opposite hand, and the bullet went in my inside of my finger, came out the top of my knuckle, and I couldn't use this finger anymore, but God restored it, and it was a suicide attempt. And right in front of my kids and their mother, and by the grace of God, it was only one of my kids that didn't witness the suicide attempt, and that was Aaron Jr. He was in the bed, he was asleep that night, in the bed in his room. And as a result, just imagine when I was released, my family was afraid of me. My kids, their mother, they was afraid of me. The only one that I had that was not afraid of me because he didn't witness was Aaron Jr. He stayed by my side throughout the entire ordeal, and through that I received Christ into my life. It was a prayer request for me from my mom and my brother, and God sent the woman of God, Apostle Imogene Alvin. I'm forever grateful for this woman of God that was sent to me, and that was the first time I heard the gospel of Jesus Christ. She came to me in the mental ward. On the 7th day, they released me. I stayed in there for 7 days. She came in there to the mental ward. I rejected her, and she requested to come to my house when they released me. And they released me, when they released me on the 7th day, she showed up at my house the very next day, which was the 8th day, which represents new beginning. 7 represents completion, 8 represents new beginning. And that was the first time I heard the gospel of Jesus Christ, and I received him as my Lord and Savior in my living room, and my life changed and has never been the same since.
Hi, it's LaQuisha again, and I want to share with you just 3 things on how I can support and help and just celebrate my sisters. So the first thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to raise your standards. Yes, I call it my fabulous 5, and that's raise your standards in your faith, with your finances, in your fitness. Have a little bit of fun, and also don't forget your family and friends. That's where you're going to raise your standards. The next thing in helping to support my sisters I would tell you to do is educate yourself. What role it is that you want to play in this world, this place where we call life. How are you showing up in the world? There's going to be 2 people when they're casting for a movie. One, it's the extra. Are you playing the life of the extra in your movie? Or do you want to play the leading role? I suggest to you and I encourage you to play the leading role in your life. I heard one of my mentors says that God will allow you to settle on whatever level you settle for. I'm going to say that again. God will allow you to settle on whatever level you settle for. So don't settle for just being the cast, the extra. Settle, or not even settle, but determine that you're going to lead the leading role in your life. You.com. And the third thing you're going to have to do, ladies and my sisters, you're going to have to decide to be world class. What is world class? World class is becoming God's best and greatest creation. You don't have to settle for just nothing. You have to become and do what all you were called to do. And you have to elevate yourself. Once you elevate your life, elevate your conversations, elevate the things that you watch, elevate the things that you listen to, elevate the people that you surround yourself with, your life will begin to change. Because at the end of the day, nothing changes until you change. Everything else may be going on around you, but what really matters is what's going on within you. This is LaQuisha Williams reminding you that if you want to be successful, you have to become world class in all you do. Thank you.
It's my turn, Sabrina? I'm gonna let you go. You know, well, actually, we could flip a coin.
Okay, VLP. Okay, because you have kind of confused me right now. But I'm gonna try and get back into the game. We're talking about regrets, I believe, and this is a very important topic to me because I've had a lot of regrets in my life, but I had to eventually come to find that nothing was to be regretful about because everything about my life was ordained and I had to go through it and I had to get over it and under it and whatever you want to say regarding that. But there are certainly things that I experienced that I would rather not have had to go through. So my question to the men and women on this panel is, what do you regret in this moment? What do you really wish that if you could go back and change that you would do? And how has this kind of tailored you for the future? What do you feel that you would do differently future forward if that were the case?
Yeah, this one, I may have maybe two type of answers as far as regrets. Because there are some things in my life that I remember, I think of, that I know that it bothers me. And one of them that always seems to come back, and not every day, but it goes away and it comes back, and it's a constant, where me not being able to save a loved one. And I can't, and please forgive me, I can't go into full detail because it has something to do with another loved one, and it's mostly their business, but it involves others. So I can't go into depths, but I'll just say that me not being able to recognize the issues and the thing they were going through. And when I look back, there were signs that I could have saw and could have recognized if I was paying attention. And I regret it. I was young. You know, I was a teenager to going into teenage years and a little bit further. And I didn't see those things, and it bothers me. So in my adulthood, I make sure that doesn't happen to any loved one of mine now. You know, but those things I know I could have saw certain signs, and there's times when you think about certain situations and certain times where that right there was a time I could have recognized it. I could have opened up my eyes if I would have paid a little bit of attention, if I would have did a little more investigating. So as an adult, I go forward and remembering that and making sure it doesn't happen to any loved one of mine. Now, I recognize the things that can open up my eyes. I recognize those certain situations. I recognize it and I look for it because it's a regret that I'm gonna have for the rest of my life. But I could have rescued them, and you know, I can't do anything about it now. And I learned that, you know, we got to learn to live with regrets because we can't go back in time. But that's something that's on me.
My biggest regret is or was not loving myself the way that God sees me. And one of the things that I had struggled with was having low self-esteem. And that happened because of an ex. He was my Prince Charming. He loved me. We had our dreams, goals, and visions and things that we were going to accomplish together. But then I found out that he had a secret. And that secret was that he had been cheating on me. And when he cheated on me, he took away a part of me. I lost my self-worth, I lost my self-esteem, and I lost my self-confidence. And so one of the things that I regretted to this day sometimes is that I continue to accept someone who was not for me. And it caused me to be in a certain situation, and it caused me to be in a season longer than I should have been. Because sometimes when you know and you see yourself the way God sees you, it doesn't matter how or what somebody else's think of you. So for me, that would be a regret. But I also do know, because I've done the work, and the work is I don't live in regret. No one can break your heart. Your heart is never broken. But what somebody can do is try to change you by causing you to not like yourself or not love yourself. So for me, I really had to dig deep and see where is it that I need to find the help and work on. And that was my self-esteem. So the person you see today, she's confident, she's in love with herself and others. It's because I've done the work. And I have forgiven myself of not loving me and not seeing myself as God sees me. So I don't live in regrets. Everything is experiences. There's no else in life. You never lose. There's only wins and experiences. So we will now move from not having regret, not living a life of regret, but living a life of experiences.
So as a mental health professional, I've found myself dealing with a lot of traumatic exposures that stem from childhood, and they have not been attended to. And it's allowed individuals who've been traumatized in a scope that is really supposed to be temporary. For a period of time, you're not quite able to respond and cope and deal as you normally would, but with intervention and support, you're able to overcome that. But when that intervention and support is not realized, that's when the dysfunctional behaviors and even mentality and psyche and all of it materializes, and it's like a defense mechanism of a dysfunctional manner that has allowed this individual to make it through life, although a lot of damage, a lot of brokenness, a lot of just systematic breakdown in the way that they function. So I've encouraged everybody who I encounter, to be honest with you, and I encourage those who are watching this as well, to think back to your childhood, reflect back to your childhood, and really emphasize, pull out something that has happened or several things that have happened that you have not addressed. And I really want you to understand how it impacts your life. For me, it was being adopted. A lot of people don't know that I was abandoned in a hospital at birth. That was the legacy of my beginning. And I was adopted, so I understand. I'm figuring out and finding out a bit more, but at 2 weeks of age and placed in the arms of my adoptive parents, kind of very beautiful story, reared and brought up and all of that, had a very good upbringing. And What I come to find later on is, especially after a series of very dysfunctional and detrimental relationships, that I was so needy for relationships, so needy for acceptance, so needy for being wanted. And through the throes of trauma therapy, I was able to link that together and come to the understanding that for a long time, I had an unattended sense of abandonment. So being abandoned at birth, even as a child, and understanding the adoption part of it later, and questioningly in silence, why was I not wanted? Why was I not good enough? What didn't I do? And I'm a baby. I was just born. It had nothing to do with me. But that's how we saddle ourselves and layer ourselves with different things that really, honestly, it happened to us, but it had nothing to do with us. It was strictly through no fault of our own. So I want you to think about that today, because I had to deal with that sense of abandonment. And I had to come to a place where I understood, even abandoned as a child, the legacy that has come out of it, the individual, the woman that I am, so very beautiful in so many different ways. I do not need to seek validation in other people, especially when they're dysfunctional. Even if they show up and they're interested in me or they want to be a part of me, I finally came to the understanding that I had the right to choose. And that set me up for healthier relationships in the future, and not positioning myself and being where, first of all, I didn't need to be, but second of all, where I had relinquished myself to be because I wasn't commanding what I deserved. So, question to the panelists today. Something that happened in childhood that was very impactful for you. You saw it advance itself into adulthood because it wasn't attended to. And what is your legacy for breaking that cycle? Because trauma helped me break that cycle. And after that, it was up to me. Because it was situations after that that presented themselves very dysfunctionally. And I was able to decide that I did not want to be a part of that. I didn't deserve that kind of treatment. And I was actually reducing the amazing woman that I am. So I'd like both the male and female panelists to answer that question.
What I endured in my childhood that has an impact on me as a person at this moment in my life is being a bonus kid. My experience of being a bonus kid twice was the most amazing experience for me. And now that I am a bonus mother, the way that I was treated as a bonus kid, we never used step in our vocabulary. And the way that I was treated as if, even by my bonus parents and their families, you better not say I wasn't born into that family. And so those morals and those values that were instilled in me as a child, now that I'm a bonus mother, even before I married into, I have a blended family now, I always said if I date or marry someone that has a child or children, that's all I know. I have no choice but to treat that child or those children the way that I was treated. At this moment, both of my bonus parents have passed away. My bonus mother was famous. And so even with that ordeal, I'm still a part of her family, and I will always be a part of her family. So my experience as a bonus child was phenomenal. When I look at blended families today, I don't know what it means to not get along with my spouse's children. I don't know what that means. So my kids, I love them as if they're my own. So that is something in my childhood that resonates with me, and I carry those same values and I instill them in my children.
All right, we going back. Sabrina, you asking these questions, they're real. I think these are questions that you know, as you're watching us today, we're being truthful. We're trying to be transparent, and I'm going to be transparent right now. It's a two-part for me. One of the things that happened to me when I was younger, the first thing is, as you see, me only having vision out of one eye. My eyes the size of a baby's eye, didn't grow. When I was younger, coming up, my mom did everything she can for me to assist me, to make sure that I grew and I didn't have, you know, to go through being different. So she got me what, you know, it's called a prosthesis, which is a false eye. It's only like a shell, it's not a full eye, you know, and it goes in my eye and it opens up and then, you know, it's there. But, you know, it didn't fully like show that it was there. You know, it wasn't fully like where you couldn't recognize it. People recognized it. As I grew, people recognized it, right? And you know, kids are that. The kids cruel. They cruel. Kids, they you know, they crack on you. Anything that's different, and it's still in society. People don't grow out of that. Anything that's different, we talk about, we put down, you know, anything like that. And I was no exception. When I was coming up, kids saw that. They saw the difference. And they cracked on me. They did this and that. And one thing, you know, my mom, you know, used to always talk about me, and I used to have discipline problems because I was considered a class clown. Because one thing that happened with me, I didn't let that bother me to the point where I'm just gonna sit there and take you talking about me. Oh no, if you had anything wrong with you, I'm gonna crack back. That's what I did. I cracked back. I found out ways to make sure that you're not gonna laugh at me. In the end, we're gonna laugh together. Or I'm gonna crack back at you and I'm gonna laugh at you. I did whatever I could to survive at that time. You know what I'm saying? And it took a while for me to get beyond that. I stopped wearing my prosthesis as I got older. I thought to myself, man, I got a nice wife. I've never lost out on anything because of this situation. So I stopped wearing it. But I still had issues. You feel me? I still had issues because every time I would go on camera, I would take pictures, I would still wear some glasses or shades. So I knew I was still dealing with worrying about being different, what people gonna say. And then one day I got ready to take a picture and I was like, why am I putting these glasses, these shades on? Am I still dealing with that? I had to recognize what I was going through, and I said, no longer. I'm not gonna be ashamed of myself, who I am, who God made me, because I'm beautiful inside and out, beyond just this right here. So I stopped doing that. So now whenever I wear shades or glasses, that's just for fashion. That's just for fashion. And another part that I have to speak on as far as things that happened to me when I was younger is I was molested when I was about 8 years old by a woman, a grown woman. I don't know how old she was at the time, but I know she was a woman. And at the time it happened, and I never told anybody as far as parent figures, my mom, nobody. I didn't go into detail. I didn't tell anybody. You know, but I was going to school. As I got older, I was going to school like, yeah, I did this and I did that. Talking to the other people, to the other bros, you know. Because I thought, you know, how I was raised, that's supposed to be a good thing. Man, you was a young dude, blah, blah, blah. I got a 7-year-old now. I can't see nobody trying him. Not a man, not a woman. That took away his innocence. That'll take away that. So me, as I got older, I kind of understood I was dealing with some things over time because of what happened to me when I was 7, 8 years old. This woman molested me. I was heavy into sex. From the time I was looking at things I wasn't supposed to be looking at, reading things I wasn't supposed to be reading, to the time I started having sex at a young age, I was 11 years old. What is that? And it curved my entire life because my innocence was taken from me and that spirit was put on me. And I didn't recognize it until I got older, started seeing the situations I was constantly putting myself in as a young man. And it wasn't until God came in to give me that understanding and touch my spirit and say, you know what, this is what you're dealing with. But sometimes if you're not dealing with certain things and you don't give it to God, He can't get you out of it unless you recognize it and give it to Him, and He'll take it away from you. But as a young man, that happened to me, and I can't see that happening to my child, my daughters or my son. That really bothered me, and I pray about it every day, that spirit don't take hold of me again, that I can move forward and my innocence is brought back into me, that I can be a great man for my wife and a husband, to not have these type of things that happened to me when I was young to continue bothering me, so I can be right with my wife at all times.
I want to say I witnessed domestic violence as a child. I witnessed, abuse. And I believe that as I got older and I started to develop my own relationships, I didn't realize, what abuse really was. I just knew that when I was in that relationship, especially my first relationship, that I want to say was like the icebreaker for what life was about to bring. I was really abused, and I saw what it felt like to actually be physically hit and hurt, and just shake it off like it was nothing. After a while of being told that I'm sorry, or I'll never do it again, and so we instantly forgive because we don't know that it's something that we need to move away from or get away from, or more is coming, so that was something that did affect me as I got older. And then I don't know if it was something that I was more drawn to, so I with choosing relationships, I wouldn't understand the difference between when it was abuse or when it was all together as love and abuse that comes as a package deal with that person. And that's just how a relationship is, and that's just how it is. And you're not in a relationship where a person doesn't at least hit you or get angry with you at some point. So that did happen to me up until I want to say about 2006. So about 2006. So in the early 2000s is when that ended for me, and that relationship ended. And it was sad too, because God had to end that relationship, and sometimes, a lot of times when things are affecting us from a child until an adult, and we don't realize how to come out of it because we don't see the wrong. We just know we want to ease that heavy feeling that's making us hurt or need that person or need that abuse. Sometimes when you have a calling on your life, some would say the universe, but God has to step in, and he pulled that relationship apart. What I didn't know about that, funny story, my mother was praying that relationship apart secretly behind my back, asking God to remove him. And I didn't know that, but he did. And so it was the first time I had ever been married, and it was an awful experience, but a learning experience, which I always tell people took me to the next level in my womanhood. And so I'm grateful to God for experiencing abuse and having a story to tell, and being able to help somebody else, and then him also stepping in and pulling me out of that situation, which could have became my life for the rest of my life. So I'm just so grateful that I was able to learn from that and move forward. And now I can teach other women what abuse looks like, and what they should and should not take. And no man is perfect, no woman is perfect. People will make mistakes and mess up, but we don't have to be in abusive relationships. We don't have to accept domestic violence. We don't have to accept abuse of any kind. It just doesn't go along with it. And so we have to be able to determine the difference between someone being upset and, learning how to communicate with your relationship or your partner, and or understanding that there's a difference. And so I'm grateful for that.
Has been at the age of 8, I started working to help my mom pay bills. She raised myself, my brother, and my sister on $1,000 a month, and just being able to understand at a young age that you had to work hard to get somewhere, and seeing my mom struggle, I knew that I did not want to go down that road. So I worked from the age of 8 to where I'm at today, to be able to kind of live the lifestyle that I want to live right now. And being able to also give back to my community, to anyone that I'm working with and the people that I'm serving. So hard work, just seeing my mom struggle as a single parent, has really truly helped me get to the level where I'm at. Knowing that, hard work and dedication was the key. Seeing her struggle was not where I wanted to be. So me being able to see that, it helped me grow to where I'm at today. So just the hard work and dedication and me seeing my mom struggle, it made me not want to struggle in my life. So I went to college, got things done, and here I am today, helping and serving our communities where it's needed the most.
Okay. This discussion is great. I know you guys are feeling, I know you guys are really interested, I know you guys are really intrigued, and I can tell by everyone that's tuning in that you're loving what's going on, and I am too. But we're gonna give y'all a little break. We're gonna stop the discussion right here, and we're gonna be right back at 7 p.m. So let somebody know if they missed part 1, they can try to go back and watch it. And 7 p.m., we're gonna go into the second part of the Grown Man, Grown Woman Moves Table Talk 2020. So we're gonna give y'all a couple hours break. So be back here at 7 p.m. and we're gonna do part 2 of everything in the discussions. And we got a lot of things to discuss. We got some things that I know you guys saw in the promotions, those things that we haven't gotten to yet. We're gonna definitely get into it. So please tune in, please watch, and thank you for watching so far, and we really appreciate you. We'll see you in a little bit.
My first thought be like, why women cheat? Y'all act like we the only ones out here cheating. A man can't cheat unless he with a woman.
A lot of men mistreat women because they themselves don't respect themselves.
George Floyd, 8 minutes and 46 seconds, knee on his neck. We watched that go on. That could have been me. But all it takes is one time for me not to make it home with the wrong cop who just feel like my life don't matter.
I've been beaten by the police twice.
Where's the legislation that's gonna say if you're gonna shoot somebody that ain't got no weapons, if you're gonna put your knee on somebody's neck and this dude ain't even fighting back?
And this young man saying, "Mama, I can't breathe." And he's calling out for his mom. He's saying, "I can't breathe." Breaks my heart.
Why do my life has to come to an end before you understand my purpose?